Peace and wellness, everyone. It's Takisha of Native Nubian Wellness, and you are tuning in into a special session of Black Women Who Blaze, which I'm deeming empowered voices. And we're going to be speaking about maternal mental health for the month of May, which is obviously Mother's Day falls in the month of May, but it's also Mental Health Awareness Month and Women's Health Awareness Month. So I definitely wanted to come in and bring you some wonderful ladies that we have here that have previously been on a podcast, and then we have a new feature, which I can't wait for her to introduce herself and share about her services and everything that she provides the community with. But awesome Black women that I feel like can help to share their stories and give a deeper insight into why maternal mental health awareness should be prevalent, because moms are really the foundation of society. We are the people who bring more people into this planet, and it affects
Yes.
the state of mother's mental health affects the whole family, and the children especially. And so I definitely am glad that we're having this conversation. I deal with my own mental health and need support oftentimes, and it is a lot of tools that I try to access, but then there's some things that I haven't uncovered. So hopefully we can share those resources and maybe help someone else, some other moms, especially when it comes to Black women, access, find education and things in her community that can support it. So without further ado, I have Yakima Palmer here, and if you have been following the podcast, she was in season 1 of Black Women Who Blaze, and she shared a powerful story of what she's went through with in her own life, and then using cannabis as a form of support and wellness. And she is a healthcare professional, but also a health and wellness coach, and she'll dive into all the things that she does. I also have Miss V, my homegirl, Millie, and you've seen her on the podcast and high teas quite a few times, diving into a few different things, and we go way back to junior high school. But she is a major support in the community in New York City when it comes to housing security,
Mhm.
specifically to the underserved and marginalized. And then we have our newest addition, Doula Brittany, and I met her at a festival, Black Wall Street Festival here in New Haven, and she with a group of other women, and I just love what they were providing for Black women when it comes to support with motherhood and prenatal and aftercare and all of those things, which oftentimes we don't get that education, especially the way our communities are kind of set up, where sometimes um, you know, pregnancies are unplanned. Okay. And at that point, you just don't know what to do. You don't know the things that your body needs. You don't know who to go to turn to. So she supports moms before and after pregnancy. So I definitely want to give each one of you an opportunity to dive into who you are and what you do a little more, and then we'll get into the conversation. So Yakima, we'll start with you.
Oh, grace and peace, grace and peace. Again, my name is Yakima Palmer. I am the founder of Yaks Wellness. It's a holistic wellness consulting company, and I empower people through education so that they can improve their current habits. I'm a certified natural wellness professional, and I do different modalities like bioscans, auriculotherapy, blood type testing, also a cannabis educator and health professor.
Awesome, awesome. Yes, yes, yes. Love it. Thank you. Okay, Ms. V.
Sure, I think you said it all. I literally do. Well, my goal is to empower our people to make sure that we get fair share or say in advocacy when it comes to housing in New York City. So I deal with a lot of us. I know I have been one of us that have been on the lowest of the totem pole when it comes to housing in New York City. So I just want to make sure that that red lining includes us.
That's
So
right.
my goal is to get my master's now in urban planning and sit at that table and make sure that that line crosses towards us. And, it doesn't block us in, that we have the option of stepping over that line and going where we need to be, where it's safe and we can grow. So
Yeah, of course, you being modest, but you do have a degree in
yes.
sociology,
Yes,
history,
I
and
do.
psychology. Um,
Yes, I do.
the level of, I mean, we get into deep conversations, and the level of study, understudy that she's taken in the community, and
Oh
I
yeah.
wait for you to kind of really deep dive into what it is that we in the urban areas, what it is that we experience, and the behaviors that you've seen based on what we've dealt with oppression and suppression. So
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. You know what? It's so much. And I say that it's like I always ask Takisha, like, how many certifications you got now? She's just like, because we just keep learning and we keep learning and we keep learning. It's just so much to say. Like, I'm going like, oh my God, there's a doula in here. I could have used you years ago, like, the fact that you told me about the key limes, like the communication, because we are women that know things. If we don't know nothing else, we know how to take care of our community. We just got to communicate. So it's a lot to say, but housing is my thing. Housing insecurity and making sure it's fair on our field,
Yes.
that we're not the slaves, we're not sitting there working hard for $3,300 for a 2-bedroom out here
Yeah.
in a crappy neighborhood. And that's usually the case for us. And we deserve more. So I'm just trying to make sure that we sit on that, table when it comes to that discussion about where that line and where they're gonna uh what is it? What do they call that? Zoning. When they start rezoning to make sure that certain votes get where, I make sure that we have that say. So I'm working towards that again. So yeah. And Takisha has been nothing but supportive through that too. So I love her for that always.
Thank you. And environment is a big factor in mental health, right? And
Yes.
so, that's why this is definitely, where you live and how you access quality housing is important. Okay. And so Doula Brittany, please do share.
Yes. Hey y'all. Thank you for having me on here. Honestly, you kind of hit on something that I was feeling, but just the amount of knowledge or the amount of just excellence right now in this space. I'm just very grateful for that. And yeah, so yes, thank you all for being here, and thank you for allowing me to be here and getting this together. But yeah, a little bit about me. I am a Connecticut native. I have my bachelor's in health education. And during my undergrad, that's kind of where I learned a little bit more about like the disparities and just the Black health disparities and just learning just so much more about our people and just learning about redlining and learning how all these things like really affected like our health. So I took a passion for just community health, and I've always had it in my heart. I didn't know how it was going to happen, but be involved in birth work. I wanted to be a midwife. I am an aspiring midwife. I will say that. I'm declaring it. Um, but yeah, but I wasn't sure like how I was gonna get my, hands in that. But just my passion for birth work and, just learning about health really is rooted in health equity, and education. And I realized that education is just such, it's preventative, it's preparation, it's, just being able to yeah, just when you're educated, you regain that power that you have. So yeah, I got my master's in education as well. Just being in that educational space, and in that time period I became a doula, and a full spectrum doula. So like Takisha had mentioned, just doing full spectrum work is pregnancy, fertility, pregnancy, birth, labor, postpartum, um bereavement, kind of working in that entire realm of birth work. So yeah, just really being able to listen to moms and, put their perspective, as like the forefront, and being able to really make those solutions, like, start giving the tools and the solutions so that we can really, get mamas the support that y'all deserve, because y'all do a lot. And it's a lot. There's and the world we live in, to our environment, to our physical health, to our mental health, like there's so many different wheels. And yeah, it's just being able to remind mamas to put themselves at that center, and communicate. That was another one that you said, Millie, that really, also hit, just being able to communicate and talk about this and have spaces where like there is support out here, and there are other women that, we can share our stories. When we share our stories, that also gives that power back too. So yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
thank you.
Mhm.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you for sharing
Yeah.
background, and I just love what you do. And at one point, I thought that that's what I wanted to do as well, which was like catch babies. That's what
Yeah.
we
Okay. Yep.
back in the day, and so especially after I had my own daughter, and I was like, ooh, I wanted to be there for her and do that for her. You
Mhm.
when it came to when she wanted to have children, instead of someone, a stranger, or me just being by her side as support, but other people handling it. I wanted to be able to help her with that. And so, I'm very interested in how that works and how I can support. I may not be able to do, be a professional at it, but at the same time, it just be like
Still
you said,
coming. Yeah.
have the education and
Yeah.
her to the women that can support her in real time, in the sick, because even for myself,
Yeah.
um you know I I know now there's a lot of, when it comes to doulas, like you have the birth doulas, and then you're hearing more about death doulas,
Yeah. Yeah. It's
having
important
people
work.
that can support you during that process, and the family, right? During that transition to the, what I would say the ancestral realm and things like that. So,
Yeah.
yeah, very interested in that line of work and support in the community, and where we can find, and then now knowing that there's a plethora of, women, especially Black women. We need more of us, that people who look like us, right?
Right, in these spaces, right, so that we can advocate and speak up and one relate, like already just be seen.
Yeah.
Sometimes just you see another Black woman and you just like, you know what? Like I see you. Sometimes you don't got to say anything.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And so, from my own experiences, recently I just kind of, it's been an anniversary of me having a traumatic experience in
Mhm.
my life in my early 20s. I
Yeah.
had a, major car accident, and I was pregnant at the time, 6 months, and I lost my baby.
Yeah.
Couldn't walk, had to learn how to kind of go through the physical therapy and all of that. But in that time, I couldn't properly grieve
Yeah.
because I was still healing as well physically. And so that was 24 years ago, as of April 23rd. And so each year, things, sometimes things come up, and the next year you don't really, but then, it all depends, I guess, and it happened on Easter. So, it was an Easter Sunday. So it was just a lot of things involved in it. And, but during that time, I was younger and didn't really, I was pregnant, and I wound up being single. The guy didn't stick around. And I didn't really know or have support or who to go to
Right.
during that time. And then, so I was already dealing with some anxieties of what's going to happen with my life. I wound up being homeless at the time because, it's just like you're 20 years old, you don't really know where or who, you're going to be able to stay with or whatever. And,
Yeah,
at the time I
support
couldn't
you,
stay with my
got you.
parents. So this is how I got to Connecticut, because there was a space that was for pregnant women, and women, with young children. And, well, they had it in New York, but those homes were filled. And, so I couldn't stay in New York. So I wound up coming, there was this beautiful home in Norwalk, and I wound up coming to that home, and the nun ran it. And, when she met me, she liked me, and she offered me a stay, and it was a beautiful space that it was a nuns convent that they had remodeled. Um,
Wow.
Place was called Good Counsel. And yeah, and so I was there for the first 30 days. And I adjusted well, but I went home on Easter for a visit. And during that visit back to Staten Island, I was in a car with my dad, and we had a car accident, and that is when I lost my child. But the people, was so, open and helpful that they came to Staten Island, to the hospital. They said, listen, you can always come back, and stay. And, once once you recover and able to walk, if you want to. So I took the opportunity to do that. And I did come back, and it was very difficult because you have all these mothers now with their babies, or birthing their babies coming home, and I didn't have mine. And so I kind of, like a lot of times Black women do, stuff it down and get through it, and supported the other women, of course. But I had to find my way. But no one even talked about, maybe you should look into therapy or some mental health support.
Wow.
Right. One thing that I did have, not access to a lot of, but cannabis was always around. You know what I mean? As a way for me to kind of, you know, deal.
Yep.
Being that I didn't really know anybody here, no family, I wasn't one to just go around asking. So only time I could access it is when I did go home. But it definitely helped to strengthen me, in being optimistic and just realizing that things happen, unforeseen occurrences happen, and it is what it is. But um, now I realize, that, yeah, from that point on, I knew I wanted to be of support to the younger women going through situations like myself.
Yep.
And even if I don't, have the resources, what I can do is point them to the right education and places. So this is why, right now, after the anniversary of that happening, it was just like important for me to speak about it, because Mental Health Awareness Month, and that one incident, along with, the childhood trauma, but that one incident changed the trajectory and the course of my life. Now I'm in Connecticut. I do have three, healthy, wonderful children, and married, and I do have support around. But early on, that wasn't the case. And so yeah, I appreciate everyone being here to kind of share some of the things that we experience, especially as Black women, um where sometimes you just don't know. And hey, I was a Black woman, and this place was, white owned. It wasn't, but I feel like we should have these spaces
Yep.
about.
Yep.
Absolutely. Just having that space of a house, just coming. Yeah, we need that. So safe spaces.
Yes, yes, definitely, definitely.
Mhm.
And so, I wanted to talk about, like, the stigma surrounding mental health within the Black community,
Mm.
and how we can work together to break down those barriers and foster open, supportive conversations like this, right? Because the stigma is real.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Listen,
Yeah.
we were young. When I was younger, people were very, spoke very derogatively about anybody dealing with a mental health,
Mm.
know, or
Yes. Yes. Very much so.
uh,
Mhm.
was
Yeah.
and we now see that mental health is very broad. It's not just, someone having a psychotic moment, or a breakdown, a nervous breakdown, or, schizophrenia or something.
Right.
Mm.
Subtle as, having an anxiety
Yeah.
moment.
Yeah.
Talk-
Accessibility. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Mhm.
Talk yourself out of an opportunity,
Yeah.
beneficial to you. because of fear, right?
Yeah.
So what is some of the stigma that, right now in 2024 that you see in our communities, especially amongst us,
Mm.
that we kind of should kind of unveil and dispel? I know there's a lot,
Well,
right?
well,
Right.
yeah. You know what? I always think about that saying that most of us, if not all of us here, have heard, and that is, what happens in the family stays in the family.
Yeah.
You don't go tell nobody our business,
Yep.
or just we go through a lot, and I'm very proud of this platform, big or small. I always say, like I said before, the communication and the accessibility to other women, just other people that are just like us, because a lot of the times I think we get caught up in what are they doing and what we should be doing. We are not them. We are us. We are very different. Our experiences are different, and following their methods of how they want to heal themselves is none of our business. Just as much as what we do in these spaces that we're creating now is only our business. Like, I don't even like, it's really hard not to get super excited at the fact that there's a doula here. You know what I mean? And I say that because I had midwives. I had two midwives. The woman that was my midwives for my, oh my God, that's so bad. I have three adult kids. They're in their 20s now. But my two youngest ones, I had, it was a white woman. And I was excited because I didn't want to go to the traditional route that I did with my oldest one, because I felt like the doctors changed every appointment and whoever was available kind of thing. This isn't fast food, this is a kid.
Yeah.
So when I had the last two, the middle daughter's birth was, I didn't even have time for nothing. Like, she came out at 8 centimeters. I was like, yeah, I did that.
Ready.
So I knew what my son I should have known better. But when I had my son, she made it very difficult. She didn't want to bring a specialist in here. They should have gave me a C-section because he was pronounced dead. And my blood pressure, I was losing a lot of blood, and they were just kind of like, what do we do? And it was like, oh, there's nothing that we can do. And I remember having a friend of mine who was a pastor at the time. Her name was Tiffany. And I remember turning to her and I was like, I think they're trying to kill me. They're trying to kill me and my son because they're not doing anything. And there was another Black nurse in that room that, had she not stopped doing that CPR and getting all of that, because he was swallowing his feces. He had I know it sounds graphic to say, but it's true. I was lynching my son in the womb.
Of course,
and they knew it.
Yeah,
it was all the way wrapped around, and then he had the feces down his throat. So I'm pushing, he's choking, like it was a mess. But needless to say, he's 21. But even after care, I'll never forget it. They came in the room, Miss Ventro, listen, your son might be delayed. Now, let me tell you something about my son. I swear, I wish he was here right now. I'll show you him. He's been a straight A student from pre-K down to...
Delayed where?
That's all I'm saying.
Delayed
because
where?
You see how Black folks do? You just see how beautiful and just miraculous we are as folks.
Yeah.
Okay. Y'all told me he wasn't going to make it. Then you told me he was going to be slow. That boy has been nothing but, if you see, my son is 6 foot, huge, smart as a whip. Okay. I don't want to hear that. But it would have been more comforting had it been somebody like you at the end of that table.
Right.
Had that Black nurse not been there, he wouldn't be here.
It would have been a different story. Yeah.
Had my friend not been there, another Black woman, to say, y'all need to do something, they would have let it be. And then it's unfortunate, like, it breaks my heart that he should say that about her daughter.
Yeah.
Because to me, it's very easily to disregard the fact that, like, well, it's a Black kid, it's a Black woman, who cares? We see a lot of that.
Right.
You know?
on so many things, especially, what we go through when it comes to the healthcare system and,
Oh yeah.
in those spaces. Because hey, I woke up to them telling me that, my baby was gone, right? But then following that, each pregnancy that I had, I've had preemies. No, everybody was born underweight. I mean, my oldest was the biggest, 5 pounds 7 ounces, but my daughter was 2 pounds 10 ounces. My youngest son was 1 pound 12 ounces. Like I've had these experiences where it's affected. I've had to go through so much in the NICU. I've had to go through so much with postpartum. But nobody spoke to me about that. You know what I mean? Like, of course, March of Dimes came, all of those type of, but no one came to me, and all I could do was, all that kept me going was I knew I had to be there for them to help them become strong, and healthy infants. So, the breastfeeding was showing up at the NICU, all of that. So, but no one sat with me and said, "Hey, what support do you need?"
Yeah.
Feeling, and it wasn't just physical support, because of course I got that. It was just where are you mentally?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I didn't understand postpartum depression. I didn't know that was what I was experiencing. And it didn't look like what everybody says it is, where you don't want to be bothered with the child. You didn't, that wasn't my experience. It was more of me. I'm not good enough. Why do I keep, why are they, what's happening to my body? Why am I not, it was, am I going to be here? Are they going to make it? These type of things. But what I did start to learn as I became more aware of myself and showing myself, and grew in consciousness, especially Dr. Amos Wilson's book, Awakening the Natural Genius in Black Children, is we are the first for a reason. We do things. So this is why you can see an infant, in hours of coming out lifting their own head, like it's like what's this? They
Yeah.
and it's like, no, it's just that it's the innate, it's the melanin. I'm gonna just say,
It's
but yeah, those are scary experiences. Like having
Mhm.
and and they just, those are so scary, and not having that support, or not knowing that is available in the community is
Mhm.
yeah.
disservice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I want to give each one of you a chance, if you wanted to tackle that, about stigma and some of the stigmas surrounding mental health in our community, and how to how do we dispel them. If you wanted to jump in, if not, we can move on to the next topic.
I just want to, just to piggyback on that, I think it's a big stigma because as Black women, just trying to express how you feel, we saw how our grandparents didn't talk about, how they were feeling. So it's just something that's being passed on from generation to generation.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset. And I think that if we can change our mindset to understand that this is not how we should be living, we can talk about our feelings and stop, hating on each other. Like, come on, we need to support one another. You may be going through something that I can help you with. You can be helping me with something. And I think that the more we can share the problems that we're having, that can eliminate so many diseases that we're accumulating in our body. Because when we're
Mhm.
holding on to these emotions, baby, I'm gonna tell you, it's trapped in the neck, the shoulders, the back, and you wondering why we having so many ailments. And that's because we got so much bottled up. We
Yeah.
gotta let it go. It's time to let it go and release it.
Yes, yeah, I agree, because we don't realize that mental health also affects our blood pressure,
Yes,
right?
it does.
Mhm.
Cortisol, the amount of it in your body, that fight or flight type of, and it seems like we're always kind of under it. Um, always having having to have that antenna, that radar up, even amongst each other, where we should be able to at least exhale amongst each other.
Yeah.
Thing that Millie brought up one time is the fact that we've been the mule of the globe. Okay, not just
Oh, yes.
but the
Mhm.
globe.
Yes.
This is where also why we haven't been able to speak up, because who's listening, right? It's like who's
Mhm.
into our voices.
Yeah.
Um, and this is why I felt like this platform was, super important in creating it, because yeah, we do have a lot to say, we have a lot to share. We're not just here to serve everyone and not be reciprocated or poured into back.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm.
and so, yeah, I think that that's a major thing, that even though our family members or,
Mhm.
ancestors past may not have spoken about this specific, thing. And of course, we've seen, they spoke up about a lot. A lot of things have changed, but certain things they didn't speak about, um, which were specific to us. We have to take care of us first
Yeah.
before
Mhm.
we take care
Yeah.
of everyone else, right?
You know
So
what though? We gotta stop doing stuff like this. Honestly, I hate this word. It like we're told it's a compliment, but it's just like an affirmation that we slave for everybody. Girl, you so strong.
Yeah.
You gonna get through it. You be all right.
Right.
No, I'm not. No,
That's
I'm not. No,
no,
Mhm.
I'm not.
that's
It's
just slapping a
okay.
band-aid on it. We got to stop that. We
Ooh.
got to get down to the root cause of the problem.
Yeah.
and that's because we don't know
Mm.
no resource,
Yeah.
have the
How
education
did we even get to that?
vocab. It's just
Hmm.
all we know is, patting on, girl, you're gonna get through it. You're
I'm gonna
gonna
get through it.
Yeah.
Hmm.
right. And
Hmm.
it's
Yeah.
like, okay, we do have we do know through time you can, but it
Hmm.
it doesn't fill the void,
Exactly.
Hmm.
Right.
especially when it comes to like grief.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Don't even. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
grieving process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't even understand that to that level within our community. So this is why, not only do we need support, but we need those spaces consistently to come to those supportive circles, those check-ins,
Yeah.
just to, because we're going
Hmm.
through so many things personally and collectively.
Yeah.
Amen. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, before I move on, I wanted to see if did you have something you wanted to share, Brittany, regarding stigma, or we could.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I think we really hit on
Mm.
most of, we hit on some good things. So yeah, I'm good.
Yes, yes, yes. So,
Mhm.
speaking of grief, because, if we're using my story as like an example of all those things that, I mean, it's definitely layered. Um,
Mhm.
it is a personal experience that can affect mental health profoundly. How can we better address grief within the context of maternal mental health?
Mhm.
And in the grief, it's not just when you're dealing with the loss of a child or a pregnancy or an
Mhm.
infant, because SIDS, that's definitely some
Mhm.
act
Yeah.
our community, and goes unspoken. But the grief of sometimes having your child taken away, um,
Yeah.
Mhm.
and dealing with that, or the grief of losing, a child that you've watched, grown, and raised, right? And that impacting your mental health. Um, how do we better address it? Instead of the girl, you're gonna be all right, you're gonna get through this,
Mhm.
it-
Mhm.
because we deal with historical traumas too. So
Mhm.
did you want to
Oh,
say,
don't get me started on that, Lord.
like,
Uh, I can speak directly on this topic. I was a young mother at 18. 18, I had my son, and he was, I had a child at 18 and a child at 22. And at 20 years of age, my son was killed.
Mhm.
And my youngest son was with him, so he was 16 at the time. And I just can remember this clear as day. You getting a call and both of your kids are in the hospital and they both been shot. Like, what do you do?
Mhm.
I did get to see both of my kids when I got there. But when I saw my oldest son, he told me, he said, "Mom, don't cry. I'm
Mm,
gonna be okay."
mm,
He said, "I'm gonna be fine, Mom." And that was the last time I saw him. But I can tell you that it was a rough process. Keep in mind, I do have a 16-year-old that's in the hospital at the same time, and not sure if he's going to make it. But thank God he did. And to be a mom at this time, I was what, 38 years old, and having to tell my 16-year-old, your brother's not here.
Mm.
So when we talk about grief, I'm grateful to be here, like very grateful. Um, I must say that as a Black woman, and people say, "Oh, you strong, you can do this," and I am a survivor. Um, I've always made sure my kids were great. I've always went to school. I always took them on trips. I always worked 2 and 3 jobs, finished school, made sure I didn't ask for no babysitter. So when we talk about a Black woman, I can say I'm that Black woman that made sure my kids were good. And to this day, my son is 27 years old, and I'm a grandmother of 5.
mm,
Oh,
My
wow.
youngest son did not know he had a daughter. So I became a grandmother at 38.
Oh,
38.
wow.
Been with me to this day. She's 11 years old, and I'm raising a child. So you talk about, this is where cannabis comes into play. Man, I didn't go to therapy.
Yeah.
I tried it a couple times, and all a man could say was, "I think you're fine." And you're okay. Everything is fine. And I took that as, you know what? I'm gonna be okay.
Mhm.
And I believed in myself, and I knew that I did everything as a mother that I could for my kids. So it was nothing that I regretted.
right.
He left me with a daughter, a granddaughter that I'm raising.
Mhm.
So when I talk about business and raising a grandkid and being a mother, having a full-time job, this is where I need cannabis for stability.
Mhm.
And every day, I'm a medical card user. I do have some chronic pain here and there, but cannabis keeps me sane each and every day. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful, and I thank you for this platform, because it's so many women out here that are going through emotional problems, losing a child or losing anybody in your household. Know that there is help. There's women, there's groups out here that we can support you, and we don't want you to hold it in. I've held it in for a long time, and that cost me high blood pressure, asthma, chronic pain, PTSD. You don't want that. And go for help, ask for help, so that we can alleviate a lot of the problems that we suffering on our own because we don't want to let it out.
Mhm.
I
Yes.
thank
Releasing
you.
that stigma. Yeah.
You know what? Thank you so much for being open and vulnerable and sharing. You got all of us.
Yeah, I know. I'm sitting here like, oh,
You trying to
God.
what? Right.
But
Ah,
So,
okay.
And it's just like so many of our mothers are losing, our sons to senseless violence within the community. And, we have to deal with grief and the mental health, but then also support them. You know,
yeah,
that you had to support your son, that traumatic event, losing his brother, and you still had to have, find it deep down within you to now continue forward,
yeah.
and raise your granddaughter in the spirit of, high vibrational love, that she would have been able to get from her dad.
Yeah.
At least she
Yeah.
can get a sense of, his upbringing, who he was with,
Yeah.
and
Mhm.
like you said, cannabis was the modality, and
Yeah.
just one of them, right? Because it wasn't, you seeked out therapy. So have I, and it's just that oftentimes, we don't get access to therapy that's truly supportive,
Yeah.
for our needs in our community.
Right.
You know,
Right.
my therapist didn't understand the anxiety I was feeling having a teenage son, and having that fear. Um,
Mhm.
that experienced something like you did and you shared, and she
Yeah.
couldn't speak, to that. And so what she said was, bring some yarn and a crochet needle, and we'll, and here's a book color, and it's just like this
Kumbaya.
What I need.
helped me uncover and unpack and release, right? So, and that's where we come in. And this is why I say, we need doulas throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
many things that come up,
That space.
when it comes to grief, and mental health,
Yeah.
and just finding that, going through those different stages of grief will bring on so many different, whether it's anxiety and depression,
Mhm.
or
Yeah.
as well, just to be able to move on. And then, like you said, it shows up physically.
Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Shows up physically. The stress does show up physically. And so, I wanted to get into the postpartum, right? It's
Mhm.
and because we have a doula here, I definitely want to speak
Yeah.
to postpartum mental health, as it is a critical period that deserves more attention and support.
Yeah.
What are some effective strategies for identifying and addressing postpartum mental health challenges, particularly in a Black community? And that would be for Doula Brittany.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things I'll say, and this is a learning curve for me, is that it shows up differently. It really does show up differently for every woman, every mother. So it's important to be, I would say listening to women. Sometimes when as a doula, it's really great to be able to build a relationship with mom, like if I'm working with her from her birth or all the way through postpartum, keeping that relationship the whole time. Usually I do keep my relationships with my mamas, but if I do meet a mom like in her postpartum period, and that's the time where I didn't really get to see her through her birth or through her labor or through her pregnancy, I'm meeting her at this stage. It's very important for me to be able to, one, listen to what she's saying, but also tap into or hear like the people around her. I think that
Mm.
also, because when the people around you can also be able to listen and be able to pick up on those things, we're all able to kind of, all right, this is a little different, or this is, we're able to just pick up on those cues. So I always, listening is one of the most effective strategies, is
Mm.
knowing who you're around, and also having that team of, and it's difficult. It's having a team of just a supportive team, a supportive a network,
Yeah.
of either friends, family, other moms, those circles, those villages, and being able to also everybody be able to be aware of that. I think that's one of like the biggest, because it shows up differently for everyone.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I don't know if anybody wanted to like add into that, because I'm trying to think of like, um the biggest one that I say just shows up
Sweet
differently for
leader.
everyone. It's like that can go so many different ways, because it's like you said, Takisha, for some people it's maybe not wanting to touch the baby, but for some it's wanting to hold their baby excessively and having excessive worry and holding on and being anxious in that state too. So just it, and I think also too, just communicating, talking about it. We talked about those stigmas of keeping it within our business, and I don't want anybody to think that I'm gonna harm my baby, so I'm not gonna say anything, even though I'm feeling
Yeah.
these things and I'm harboring and holding these. But like having like just a safe space, and as a doula being that safe space for someone to express that and not be looked at like, oh girl. No, it's more like, oh, okay, let's expand on that a little bit more, like talk, just having that safe space. And I feel like that's important for us as a Black community to be that for one another. um but unfortunately, like, a lot of us are working through generational trauma, and we're working through our own our own hurt and our own, like, not think that things are not yet healed. So us also trying to find that balance for ourselves. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all.
That's okay. That's okay. But yes, definitely, that we need safe spaces, for new moms to be able to come up and say,
Mhm.
hey, this is how I'm feeling, you
You
know.
know what? I wanted to bring up something. I don't know if any of y'all saw it. There was a a, a TikTok influencer, a Black woman, who was recently in the news for killing her whole family and herself.
Mm,
In California, I think, right?
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes,
She
I did hear
ran
about that.
her car into a.
Yeah,
She threw out her 9-month-old baby
yep.
out the car, threw out her daughter, and I think butchered the children's father. And all everybody kept saying, first of all, the media kept saying because she's a spiritualist and because she
Mm-hmm.
was into astrology. And everybody else was saying, no, she kept talking about how depressed she was.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I will, listen, I've had this conversation with my kids before. I've dealt with it hard. Like, I was one of those that was like, dude, my kids aren't safe in this world.
Yeah.
Why are we here? I don't want them to get hurt. I'd rather us all leave. Like, thoughts in your head when you're going through those hormonal changes, and just, my thing is housing. So having the security of a safe home. Who wants to bring home a newborn baby and you got mold and lead?
mm-hmm,
Mm.
Your water's not running correctly, but they just milked your health insurance.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
And then many times, a lot of us, I have to deal with that alone.
mm-hmm,
And I'm grateful now that you have a whole lot of women now saying that these responsibilities aren't allocated to just women. It's not just her to get up and keep changing the baby. It's not her to keep feeding the baby. It's not her to keep cooking and cleaning. It's a us thing. And
Right.
if we have that balance, it makes it the transition a little bit easier.
Supportive.
But
Yeah.
I was really, I never forget it. I couldn't hold my middle daughter for months, months. And I mean, I think she was like 10, 11 months
Wow.
before I was like, oh, you know what I mean? Like, it took me, like, I can't. She was colic, screaming all the time. And then I had her sister who's 9 months. I got pregnant with her when my oldest was 9 months old. So I was really like, I didn't come down off of what I just dealt with, and then had another one. And then I waited a little bit and then had my son. And it was too much.
Mm-hmm.
It was too much to the point where it was just like, somebody take these kids, because I felt like I'm gonna harm myself,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
right. And no
you
one
know?
really addresses, like you said, you know,
Yeah.
those comments to what happened, which is very tragic. What happened to that, with the Black woman and her family, what she did. But it's also, um, people will try to find, any way to blame, instead of if she was on social media crying out for help, constantly saying this is what she's dealing with. And like you said, Brittany, the community around
Allow her. Yeah.
be able to recognize that she needed that type of support is,
Mm-hmm.
you know,
That part for me.
Yeah.
That part for me.
Yeah.
Y'all all heard this girl say she needed
She
help.
was saying these things. Yeah, we don't take it serious. We don't think that is anything, or oh no, no.
Yeah.
Like sometimes you got, and just even inquiring, yeah. And I
right.
think that's just like a long.
Excuse
I
me,
don't know if
y'all.
that's like a thing as a society. Like we're just becoming numb to things, or we're just like, oh,
Yeah.
that's their problem, that's their thing. I don't have the capacity to deal with this right now. but it's like that is what we need to get back to, that idea of
Yeah.
looking out for each other and speaking up and calling things out or questioning things, or we just need to get back to that.
Hard to,
Totally
because
agree.
as Black women, we often get labeled angry,
Yep.
get labeled,
Crazy,
uh,
dramatic.
right, combative, you
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
we're bossy, we want to be in charge, we controlling,
Mhm.
and but then everything, all the responsibility always falls on us.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At the
Yeah.
point where it's just like, well, when it's enough is, when
Mm-hmm.
enough. And so, she wasn't, like you said, she had a baby. She had a baby. She was dealing with a level of postpartum, but then also had other children and
Yeah.
needs to have a partner. And it's just, how much support is there? And the fact that we
Exactly.
anymore,
Right.
you know what I mean? Oftentimes
Yeah.
the village is gone,
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
it's just
Mm-hmm.
the aunts and the uncles and the grandparents and the cousins, but it also consists of those community supportive services that
Yeah.
you should have access to. And then
See.
burnout is real in motherhood.
Yeah.
Because like you said, Yakima, you were doing so many things along with being a mom, right?
Yeah.
Along with going to school, working several jobs. It was like, and motherhood is the unpaid work, right? We don't
Yeah.
get
Mm-hmm.
for that at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being and raising more human beings into the planet is such a huge task, that we don't there's not enough recognition. And so I definitely feel like the spotlight on that, um
Mm.
for moms is, those who want to do it, and show up regularly, and it
Mm-hmm.
support. We need access.
Mhm.
Oftentimes, you hear you get the stigma of consuming cannabis during
Ah,
your pregnancy or after, and how that affects breastfeeding, or how that affect. I was scared that was what was causing me to be high risk, you know,
Mhm.
mm.
of me consuming, but I needed to it for my own, all the things that I'm dealing with, the whole systemic oppression that I deal with every
Mm.
day, along with, trying to figure it out and being an unprepared young mom, and not having the family support that, they are
Yeah.
supportive, but they're not the support that other ethnicities actually get. When you see, like, oh wow, that,
Right.
definitely how not how our people show up. So
Yeah. But that's the thing. I think that's the problem with our people as a whole. I'm noticing, at least. We'll get together for tragedies and trauma, but we will not come together when it's just kind of like, I hate hearing shit like this.
No.
I'm a married woman, let me stay away from my single friend, and vice versa. She's married now, let me leave her alone. That's when y'all need to be
Mm-hmm.
closer.
Mm-hmm.
All of this worried about who gonna be with who, man, and all that crazy crap. Like, there's bigger fish to fry, because that new mother might need that support of that single friend,
Yeah.
or that married friend, or
Yeah.
that grandma. Like, everybody needs everybody, and we've
Yeah.
never not been a people. We're like ants, you know what I'm saying? With
Mm-hmm.
disorder to me. We're all over the place because
Yeah.
everybody's worried about who gonna leave who where, or who
Yeah.
could do what, and who when and how. And it's like, and a lot of that blame and shame hits us the most.
Yeah.
That's why I get so emotional talking about it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Where now, the single mother epidemic within our community is
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy.
out, and
Yeah.
we're not thinking as single moms, those who are single moms, to pool resources,
Mhm.
create that community. You
Yep.
know, maybe you don't have to be a single mom by yourself. You my best friend, we both single moms. Let's go ahead and get
My
our
mother. Let's
Yep.
do this
Mhm.
together. Mm-hmm.
do
Mm-hmm.
this together. Let's raise our children together. It
Mhm.
doesn't have to be this, this concept of, the sexual things going on. No, it's a,
Mhm.
building, thriving, supportive community, our children,
Mhm.
but then we being support, because you might be a single mother because the guy left, or he's no longer there, or he was incarcerated, or he was killed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I
Right.
mean, what he did for your son's baby mom, which
Mm-hmm.
and as a grandmother, oftentimes happens, but she needed that support. That was, wonderful, but to be able to give her, especially if she was young, the opportunity to
Mm-hmm.
continue to grow,
Yeah.
woman, because now you have young women, that haven't fully
No.
grown,
Yeah.
trying
Ugh.
now teach another person how to be an adult in this society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bad.
But think about it like, if what is it for you to say to your neighbor, hey, I'm going to the store. You need anything?
Right.
Knowing this woman got 3, 4 kids running in her house.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
mean, we do things like a baby shower will suffice if you even have one.
right.
And I always tell people like, check out them out because I love my seniors too. That's a big thing for me too. Our seniors do not get the love and care that they need.
Absolutely.
Trying to get them to understand how helpful cannabis could be in their lives,
Yeah.
opposed to aspirin or Tylenol, things like that.
Yeah.
We forget, we're a community that have still, I still believe this. We still have a lot of love and respect for our seniors,
Yeah.
our elders.
Mhm.
And I've worked with a community of seniors in Jersey that was just like, that's how y'all feel about y'all seniors? Like, it's like she
Surprise.
ain't dead yet. And I'm like,
Mhm.
Mhm.
did you just say that out loud? I would have got the shit slapped out of me. I said something like that, because I'm not used to having that level of
That type of
disrespect for
disrespect.
anybody, let alone our seniors. Are you crazy? You talk to
Yeah.
my grandmother like that?
Mhm.
But I say that to say, like, we are community based. There's not a thing that we don't do globally in groups to make sure that we are okay.
True.
Yeah.
And now we're here, and it's this individualism that's being pushed is crazy. Oh, she got it. Takisha good. You know, Brittany good. Yakima, she good. She don't need my help. She's strong. She a woman. No, she needs your help. She needs that ear.
Yeah.
Doesn't
Yeah.
have to be financial. It could be a hug. It
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
be, girl, you okay? Talk
That's
to me.
it.
Right. Right.
Not
And
as much.
we was just saying how hugging and, for a certain amount of time helps with mental health, right?
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're speaking about seniors and especially Black women, seniors, in healthcare, they don't get touched, and this is why they need you to, when you're in that practice, to massage their back and maybe
Get
rub
that
some.
blood flow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're lacking um
People
they're
touch.
lacking the
The
comfort.
warmth of somebody and the
Right,
comfort. Yeah.
right.
Yeah, that
So,
physical touch.
we
Mm-hmm.
us, we definitely need more of that. And we need to embrace them and bring them back into the fold of community, especially mothers,
Yeah.
Yeah.
older and elder mothers that that old school stuff. I went to my aunt's house recently, and my children, she's in her 60s, and my children, she's a great aunt, and
Mm.
they were looking at the how she kept her home, and my husband was saying old school, but which my dad was calling
Mm.
traditional, and she's you have to that helps her mental health as well, having the youth
Mm.
around,
Yeah.
seeing where the legacy is going and unfolding, hearing the stories, but also her being able to share her stories and knowledge with them,
Yeah.
as far as what she's experienced, what you could avoid, if you heard her stories, oftentimes we
Mm.
kind of push them away and they're unable to speak to, all the things, all the knowledge that they have, and all the things they've seen unfold throughout these decades. These are, I would consider matriarchs of our community
Mm.
need support as well when it
Yeah.
Right.
comes to health and well-being. So I want to get in before we close, some of the, self-care practices that can help for Black women and their mental health, and moms specifically. What are some practices that you that you practice? And Millie, you can get into some environmental self-care practices, especially living in a city
Mm.
setting, things that you do. Because New York is very busy, it's gritty, you got people, all sorts of energy. And then you got heavy, pollution.
That's what I'm dealing with now. That's why you keep seeing me sneezing and rubbing my eyes, and I'm like tearing up. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst time.
What are I get it, because that does affect health, where you're like, oh, I need to get out of this environment, or this environment needs to be improved. What am I gonna do? I need to get my children out of these environments. So what are some of the things that we can do, and maybe some so if you know of any services in your local community, and maybe nationwide, that could be shared before we wrap up.
Ooh. Oh man. I just listen, I just started therapy for the first time in my life. Okay. Like, and when I say like it's something else trying to find a black one. Okay.
Yeah.
It was something else. They're either not taking any more clients, or they're just simply not available. During the times that I'm available. So that was really something else, because I'm a person that comes from high trauma. Takisha will tell you, I've spoke about it before. In my community, in my own family. And so this was like much needed. This is like 38 years of necessary unpacking. So I'm getting that together.
That's good.
But living in New York City as you can see, I'm in the city sneezing and coughing, and my eyes is running. And I'm going, this is so embarrassing. I'm like trying not to rub my eyes and stuff on camera, but I stay in the house a lot, and I got air purifiers. And today, actually, I'm starting my 75-day challenge. Okay, where I do 75 days of, well, I don't drink anyway. I was a smoker. What is it? You work out for a half hour twice a day, inside and one outside. There's rules too. You could Google it, but I try to keep myself busy, with my own self-care. And that's really, really hard. I'm like, oh, I could take care of myself. And then you start to realize, like, no, I was trained to take care of everybody else. And how, like, my daughter's always saying, I was in the store with her not too long ago, arguing over getting a $13 shirt. She's like, it's 13. And I'm like, yeah, but what if we needed anything? And she's just like, it's $13. Seriously?
Right.
Because we're conditioned to think outside of ourselves. And then I noticed that she does that as well. Oh, I could get this, but and I'm like, as much as we believed for ourselves, and even passing on and what we received from our parents, so on and so forth. I've learned more and more. Isolation is necessary, but limitedly. Community is everything for us. It's important. We're touch deprived.
Yeah.
How many times do we walk in the room, that girl don't like me, I don't like that girl. It's like, nah, sis, I need you.
Right.
Forget what everybody got to say, especially living in New York City. Like, it's, people come at us hard. If you see any of the social services, it's us. It's black and brown hard. But we're not up there. We're here. And they all up here. It's all of the white owners. It's all of the white scholars sitting up there dictating what goes on in our community. That's a problem for me. And when I get to that point where I could sit in that room, I want to see our faces. And I'm going to make sure, I laugh about this all the time, but I'm serious. I'm very prejudiced when it comes to white people. Absolutely, 100%, because nobody looking out for us. I don't want to see you hurt, but I'm going to make sure if there's a black man and a white woman, I'm taking care of that brother first.
Right.
I'm seeing us first before I see anybody else, because y'all win all the time. Everything is conditioned in your, and I mean everything, down to you rezoning and making sure certain neighborhoods get a voice and who don't. You saw what they did in Georgia.
Right.
How do you take the black vote? It's not about black people out there. But it's a consistency of that. So trying to work through those, like, raise them feelings of like, you know what,
Yeah.
you know, and trying to conduct myself so that I could get in certain spaces. So now I could start inviting our faces or just
Yeah.
creating our own completely. And that's the way I'm at now.
Yeah.
No,
That's where I'm at now.
and all the resources. I'm not going to say resources, but we have the education, we have the tools. We just have to get back to, training our youth, educating,
Hmm.
Educating. Yeah.
right, and bringing what we learn back to us,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and creating these spaces and platforms for ourselves. But one thing you touched on about a self-care practice for mental health was the exercise, and I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. And if it don't feel fun and engaging, I just can't get into it. And we have to get back past that, especially me getting older and understanding how bone density and things start to change and hormone. Like, no, girl, you're gonna have to do it because
Yeah.
that's and what you said about your daughter. Now you see practicing some of the things that you practice,
Mhm.
from her watching. I have to be considerate of that as well, for my own daughter, and realizing that she's watching me,
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
do and not do.
Yeah.
Mm.
No matter how much I say, this is for your good. But if it's so great, why aren't you doing it?
Right.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Right.
So
I
I
see what
get
you
that a
mean.
lot. I get
Mhm.
that a lot.
all day. And some of the self-care practices for me obviously is plant medicine, and cannabis. Consciously and intentionally I consume it when needed, when I'm called to.
Mm.
But there's so many other plants out here that have been therapeutic, and most recently for me, psilocybin
Mhm.
has been some of interest, and I had my experience with it, and it's helped to clear away some of the things that I was holding on to as a youth
Mm.
into trauma and parents and resentment.
Yes. I
So
love it. Love
yes, yes,
it.
I will definitely revisit it when I'm prepared and ready, and it's set and setting.
Whew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Same. Yeah.
Like in a safe space for that, but I'd love to do it in a group setting with Black women.
Yeah.
You already know that was, and it was great that
Mhm.
it was our first time together. Um,
Yeah.
because
It's beautiful.
I trusted her to see me. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
you gonna be seen,
You're
okay?
gonna be seen. Okay. We're all open. Just open.
It's not everybody else, but I created this platform for other Black women to be seen and for
Yeah.
them to see me and just know that I do see you. So Yakim, I know you got all the tools in your toolbox, and you give us some self-care. If you are not checking out her IG at Yak's Wellness, where she gets it in with the smoothies, the juicing,
Ooh.
she gets in with the exercises and the weight training and things that you can do. So please share with us some of the tips, self-care tips for our own mental health and well-being, because you definitely are an example of that. And I'm just loving the locks, how the locks.
Mhm.
Thank you. 5 years.
Yes,
Okay.
Um,
Yes.
yes.
Committed.
I want to say that just to say one thing about us as women, people are watching. And when you mention your daughter, I know my granddaughter's watching me. My bonus daughter's watching me. I have 7 young kids and nieces and young girls that are watching me. So I want to leave that example as I want to lead by example as that woman, as this is how you need to take care of yourself.
Mhm.
So I do say that always keep it real with these young girls, with your family. They see me exercise every day. They see me in my exercise clothes. They see me walk around here drinking water every day. I put lemons in my water. And I'm gonna say that's a self-care practice that we should do every day because it helps flush out the liver. The
Mhm.
liver is where we hold anger, ladies. And if you
Mm.
continue to try and flush out your body every day, as you mentioned, you're in New York, you're getting all of these toxins in your body. Lemon water, helps you flush out every day. Just trying to think of every day you're intaking all of these toxins from the water that's put on your body, the water you're drinking, the air that you're breathing, all of the food that we're eating, the processed food, all of that's toxins. And believe it or not, it's messing with the mental capacity every day. From the red dye number 40, high fructose corn syrup, all of these things affect us mentally. And if we can have an idea of understanding how we can clean ourselves up naturally, we'll be a lot better in being able to express our feelings to other people as well, and not be concerned on how somebody else feels. Let's go on how we feel and how we need to get ourselves together each and every day.
Yeah.
And one major self-practice that you should do every day that we don't do, taking deep breaths. We always shallow breathing, and the breathing is always here. Every day, just wake up and take and you can feel the oxygen going into your lungs, into your stomach, your abdomen, and just know that we need that oxygen to get to our organs every day to survive. Otherwise, we always stress and so tense.
Yeah.
Water, deep breathing, and meditation, self-care practices, and exercising.
Yes, yes, I love it. I mean, it's so true. The nutrition is everything, gut health is affecting the mindset and the mental health as well. Like you said, the lack of oxygen getting into the blood cells, that's getting in and our red blood cells absorbing it. This is, contributing to anemia as well.
Yeah.
In the processed foods, all of those things, the toxins, the heavy metals, so detoxing is essential for self-care and mental health and wellness, especially moms, because now we're cooking the meals, we're providing the nutrition. And so, we have to be mindful of that. I had to just tell my children, like, I'm not going to be shopping for two different, diets. Y'all going to have to eat what I'm eating. That's what it is,
It is what it is. Yeah.
the corn pop, sprinkled
Yeah.
top your cereal, but it was when I was young that looked exciting, but at the end of the day, it's not good for your health and well-being.
And you have to lead by example, and that's a good thing. When you start cooking different meals, and it's like, well, you telling us so it is okay for us to eat this food, but you're not eating it.
Right.
So eat what you know that's nutritious for you, and then they're gonna have to follow. Look, I want the best for you, so
Right.
you're gonna eat this.
That's right. That's right. Talking right there. You're gonna eat this. That's because hey, as a cosmetologist, clients used to ask, well, you wearing a mask and gloves, putting this on me, is it even safe? And in reality, no. We're hearing all the things about relaxers and what it was doing, and now they got this class action lawsuit to Black women and their health and well-being. So the same thing. I can't, if it's not healthy for me, it's not healthy for you. Not healthy for moms, and that's one of the nutrition is everything when it comes to women and Black women as a whole, for mental health, but then especially for moms. I know Brittany, as a doula, the importance of a healthy nutritional intake for the baby to build, because when you're creating a human being and providing for them, they're taking some things from you.
Yeah.
If you don't have enough to give, you're going to be depleted, and this can affect your, the postpartum experience as well. So some self-care practices for moms, new moms, and those, for toddlers. Yeah, I had that toddlers and those crazy, terrible twos and
And even added on to that, depletion, because that's like one of the bigger things that like really came into focus, like with postpartum, and just like how just the depletion is nutritionally, how it affects you mentally, and then to your energy, and then add breastfeeding onto that, because breastfeeding is revolutionary for Black women. It was something we've been doing it, and then it was taken away, and it's been turned to just been turned to a miseducation. Women are fearing, they're not sure of I don't want, all the different fears, that come up with breastfeeding. But for moms that are, exclusively breastfeeding and then not having that nutritional component and being able to like nourish themselves, it just adds to that depletion. So like it really is important to one, have knowledge of what you can eat, what have that balance, but then connecting with like, and then doulas are not, we're non-medical professionals. We support with the psychosocial, emotional, mental, physical health, during major life transitions, sometimes birth, postpartum. But having a doula where you can, or having, a birth companion, or just that extra support, or someone you can talk to and say, I'm not sure what to eat. I can't remember what I used to eat before I was pregnant, or I don't know, having that somebody that's like, you know what, let's work through this, let's look up some things, or here's a list that I know, just having that resource, just it can make a big difference. It also takes off that load, that mental capacity of having to figure it out. So, just to add into that, I don't know if that really counts as like a self-care practice, but um just taking off that mental load off yourself sometimes, and yeah, just communicating, speaking about it, getting that extra help, as a postpartum doula sometimes is coming through and doing the things in the house and holding the baby and wearing the baby so that the mom can literally just go lay down. Just go lay down. Don't
Right.
worry about it, and so having that extra support, sometimes that's important. But when it comes to self-care, I always look at it as soul care, taking care of your soul. What does my soul need? Like,
Yeah.
what does my soul need to feel joy, to feel peace, to feel that, like, just that really that joy and that peace that I deserve to feel, and putting things in place, um, so that you can experience that, because you deserve to experience that, whether it's, and you shouldn't feel guilt or shame about wanting that, because you are human. And if, for moms, I know that's also like a big theme that I see too sometimes, just like that guilt of feeling good, or that guilt of doing things that bring that joy. So I think it's really important to center that back when it comes to like self-care and, going into that soul. And we talked about touch. I think touch is really important, especially during like birth and labor. Sometimes just having somebody, the counter pressure, having the hands, that can make all the difference. But having a hug, like we said, but massage, I think that is also a big one too. Just being able to work out, those tensions and those traumas that we hold on to. And I'm from Connecticut, so I just want to shout out two of our providers, that Holistic Remedies, their massage, massage therapy by a Black woman, and soul therapy. They're both in the New Haven, Hamden area. And with Holistic Remedies, Ebony, she travels. So there also is that component of just working that into your wellness plan. And that's something that, as a doula, when I'm doing my birth plans and I'm doing that consulting and I'm talking with moms about postpartum, like we're talking about that wellness, like all things, asking these questions so you can think about them.
Right.
Because when your baby comes, you're probably just going to be hyper focused on this, but then we have that plan, we can refer back to it. We could start working that into like your daily life and making that realistic and having these tangible tools, not just saying, oh, I'm going to meditate, I want to meditate 3 times. No, what day is good for you to meditate? What time is good? If meditation is something that's good, but actually making it real life for your schedule and for what you have going on. So it's not an added stress. It's not a thing that you got to feel that you're failing at, or that you're not accomplishing. Just, just giving, just really preparation, educating yourself and working yourself through that plan, I think is also a great way to, yeah, just take care of that soul, take care of yourself.
Yes, 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 I love it. Thank you so much. Yeah, because you touched on, so many things.
So many, yeah, I know, sorry.
it- we need support surrounding, and this is, for new moms. This is for, like you said, afterwards, before, after, and then even years after.
Years
We
after.
need continued touch. Some self-care practices we heard: exercising, deep breathing, meditation, journaling is
Therapy.
fun, you
Therapy,
know.
yeah. I'm
Um,
sorry, I want to say, Millie, I wanted to say this too. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but
mm,
like, I'm very proud of you for starting therapy and starting that
mm,
journey. And I don't know, what came up for you or what made you make that
mm,
decision, but like that is really big. And especially in our community, like that, the stigmas we was talking about, not wanting to talk with anyone. Sometimes, like, I started therapy the first time 3 years ago. I think it's been, actually, yeah, it's been 3 years now. So it's like, and I've dated different therapists trying to figure out who's right. So like, I'm really proud of you, like finding, that space and just, giving yourself that opportunity to heal and like be aware of, yourself, but also like we're saying, just being a leader for like your daughter and your kids, like,
Yeah.
so that she could know, like, all right, like, mommy has a therapist and she's all right. So I
No,
can't
you know
wait.
what's funny? I realized something very important about us is, as Black women, we use each other as therapy.
Yeah.
And then we get upset many times,
They can't hold
or
us.
I mean, at least for me, in my experiences, where it's just kind of like, how come Takisha's not available? How come Brittany's not available? I need to get this off my chest, not realizing that we're verbally dumping on that person and expecting them to understand and give some type of remedy. So I was telling my daughter was actually the one that kept saying, why don't you? Because she's just like, you angry. And I'm like, for a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons, because I know what we go through and it hurts my heart. I got 2 daughters and a son.
Yeah.
I worry about, my son, he works in East New York in Brooklyn. That's not the greatest neighborhood. I used to work in that neighborhood. I lived in that neighborhood. And, like you said, like gun violence in our neighborhood is crazy.
Yeah.
So him leaving out this house is anxiety in itself. My daughters, I don't know if y'all saw the discussion with the man, would you pick a man or the bear conversation? And women, Black, white, Hispanic, and Asian all said they picked the bear rather than the man. So now, I'm saying now we got to take self-defense classes, carry a gun. Like, what more do we need to put on us? Like,
ourselves,
it's too much. It makes you angry. So for me, it was my rage. I'm not got anger issues. I'm not a violent person, but I can be. But I say that to say, alleviating my community of my own anger. Meaning my homegirls, instead of like, I can't believe this. Oh my God. And taking it to somebody that could kind of,
Right.
deal with it in their own way. And then I could communicate better with my friends, and my family.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that is so true. Where, exactly, you get the phone calls and you're the air, you're being, but then, it does affect you. You know what I mean? It affects the next person. And the transference of energy is real. You know what I mean? And now you calling, and now the energy you was on is now in this next person's household, and now they have to dispel it. And and it becomes a snowball and a circle effect. So awesome. Like she said, congratulations. And
Yes.
I'm quite sure it's gonna do, so much wonderful things in your life, and then be able to further help others. Because when we trying to help the community, we definitely have to make sure that we're solid and support it. Um, and so before we wrap up, with the we did the self-care practices, and I wanted to touch on briefly, cannabis for young moms. And what it's hard, especially if it's not legal in your state, to be speaking on it. You do have to be aware of what could, what they call medical kidnapping, if your baby tests positive, things like that. So we want you to be responsible, but be mindful and conscious of what you're consuming, where it's coming from. I recommend CBD first and foremost. No inhalation, especially if you're dealing with some things that can be helpful. But you do have cannabis health coaches like myself and Yakima that you can contact for further education and support in those areas. But I was going to say, looking ahead, what are your hopes for the future of maternal mental health support, particularly concerning the integration of holistic approaches, like cannabis and plant medicine? What is your hope for the future of, mental health for moms, and especially Black women going forward, and bringing in plant medicine, and then we'll wrap it up.
I don't know if you hear me. Well, I'll say mine. Yeah, I'll go. My biggest thing, I think my biggest hope I see is education and more awareness, and more opportunities for there to be, conversations around cannabis, mental health, bridging those two together and like just or either introducing other healing modalities that, also do allow us to just pour into our mental health and, just really heal and work on those things that we hold on to. Just finding that more of like a bridge. Like I really hope to see that. Because there's even just being in this room, there's just us four in here, and there's so much knowledge, there's so much energy, and so much greatness in this space. I was thinking, okay, what if we can magnify that? And then on top of that, we got like the mamas and families around, and we all just
yeah,
vibing and learning from each other and just educating and bringing awareness and just healing. Like I would love that. And not just like for a week, but like not even an annual thing, but like a monthly thing, like a thing that's like consistent so we could really get back to that community and back to that connection. And it would be dope if cannabis was like the thing that brought us together. It's dope.
Yeah, it is a community, and
Oh man, cannabis. Ooh.
It'd be great.
grounding is so important. And just like you said, I feel that hope. I feel that vision
Yeah.
of spaces where we can consistently come together and create something that supports us and moms, but
Mhm.
Black women as a whole.
Mhm.
Because even if you aren't a, biological mother, you still, like you said,
It was maternal.
your
Yeah.
auntie, if you
Yep.
if you're an older cousin, if you're a sister,
Auntie.
you
Mhm.
know, um, we need all of us, to kind of come into the fold and raise and bring the village concept back. I just love it. Just reminds me of, even though they couldn't have children, but the woman king. I just love that.
Mm-hmm.
That was a good one. Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they relied on. I feel like that's pretty much how we are. We show up even though we don't get that recognition.
Yeah.
Are the protectors. We are the nurturers, the protectors, the teachers, and the confidants of our community. We relied on for so many things. So our mental health needs to be supported.
Yeah.
And so
Oh
for
yeah.
who wants, there is a maternal mental health hotline.
Mhm.
The government has a national maternal mental health hotline, and you can, if you need support or what have you, you can contact them. I'll make sure that the link to that is in the description for those
Mm.
watching the video and listening on podcast streaming platforms. I'll make sure the link is available for anyone. And share your websites, or how to reach out if someone needs, wants to reach out to you for support. I'll start with Yakima, and then Brittany.
Mm.
My website is YAKS Wellness, WELLNESS.com, yakswellness.com.
Okay. And Doula, Doula Brittany, how can you be
Yeah.
reached for your supportive services, or all the things that you do? I saw
Mhm.
you delve into poetry and all of that. And I mean, all definitely a part of health. That's why I said journaling.
Mhm.
Use your voice and speak out. A lot of times we feel suppressed,
Yep.
and if we just write it
Mm-hmm.
and be heard, that helps.
Autistic experiences. Yes. So you can find me on Instagram at the Radiant Love Doula, Radiant Love Doula. And then you can also find me at goldenradiancevillage.org. That's golden, GOLDEN, radiance, RADIA. And now I'm trying to spell it out. RADIANCE village VILLAGE.org. Either one of those, you can definitely reach me. Yeah, we can either do some doula support, we can do some artistic expression. Anyways, that I could be able to support. Yes.
Yes, and all websites and things will be in the description
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
good.
to you, with a click. And Mills, do you want to share any last words before we wrap up?
Well, you know, I always go back to housing. I'm
Yeah.
really, really big on this for our people. I'm so serious. You know I come off very provocative many times, but I've seen it time and time again. And I think that platforms like this, you know, I have a friend that she just found out that she's pregnant. Like, I'm going, wow, you know, I'm going to see you about some wellness, you know, because I know I need to relax. And I'm not a person that knows how to relax because I get hyped for my people. You know, I
Right.
take it very serious. Y'all are my passion.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
I feel that.
Now, if I could get us all home, that's the
That'd
goal.
be it.
You know,
We could-
safe, secure homes. We could really be community. We could be
Yeah,
that village we keep talking about. Because
yeah.
right now, this is a village.
Really good.
Yes, yes, yes,
You know.
yes. So
So thank you, Takisha
thank
Yes.
you. I appreciate
and ladies.
Thank you.
Thank
you are a
you.
Black woman who consumes and you want to share your story. You're in the industry. You're an advocate. You are an entrepreneur. Reach out to me at Black Woman Who Blaze on IG, and we can start the process of getting you featured. If you are looking for any of my services and all of my offerings, you can go to www.nativenubian.com. Please like, subscribe, and share. Support these ladies. Support all the ladies that have been featured. Thank you for listening. This is definitely a lot to unpack. There's so many layers to maternal mental health that we didn't get to touch on. And hopefully it, leave a comment if you feel like you need support in any of these areas. Definitely leave a comment and let us know what you think and how we can support you. Peace and wellness.
Thank you.